Hey, so the Iran war may be over for good, maybe by Monday. I'm not too optimistic about that, but it might be. Welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. And do me a favor, if you ever become vice president of the United States or president of the United States, I know it's not likely, I know it's not probable, but it's possible. Do me a favor, whenever you're president next or vice president, and you want to go talk to the media, don't stand next to an airplane engine that's on. Don't stand next to a helicopter, because Trump does that sometimes. JD Vance does that sometimes. And it makes so much of a difference if you just stage the media about 30 yards away, at least, from the nearest running jet engine before you give a statement. And so this is what we're dealing with here. Actually, he got up. He was about to, when I say he, Vice President JD Vance was about to get on the plane to head to Islamabad to start these negotiations. And they had actually staged the press, I don't know, about 30, maybe 50 yards at the most, kind of hard to tell, away from the nearest jet engine. So it's a little better than usual, but still not ideal, but optimistic.
Hey guys, good morning. Thanks for coming. Look, we're looking forward to the negotiation. I think it's going to be positive. We'll of course see, as the President of the United States said, if the Iranians are willing to negotiate in good faith, we're certainly willing to extend the open hand. If they're going to try to play us, then they're going to find that the negotiating team is not that receptive. So we're going to try to have a positive negotiation. The president has gave us some pretty clear guidelines, and we're going to see. So I hope you guys have a safe flight. We'll certainly take some questions later on. But for now, let's get on the plane and hit the road. Thank you all.
All right, so then he goes and he jumps on the plane, takes off. And since then, it's been a little rocky. While he is on the plane headed to Islamabad, Donald Trump said on Truth Social, he's griping about the Straits of Hormuz not being completely open. He said the Iranians don't seem to realize they have no cards other than a short-term extortion of the world using international waterways. The only reason they are alive today is to negotiate, which is simultaneously funny but serious at the same time. He's not kidding. You know, for they tried to get the taco thing to stick again. You know, Trump always chickens out. Bro, he already murdered like their top 40, 80 something leaders. Yeah, that's real big chicken there. So that's the situation we're looking at just since that positive start to this morning. The report I saw on Fox News, 3,200 vessels are piled up outside the Strait of Hormuz, and they keep showing looks like a video game map, like when you're playing a video game and in the corner there's the map that kind of tells you where you're at and other people are. It looks like just that corner map, and there's a whole bunch of ships that are lined up on both sides of the Straits of Hormuz. Now, most of the ones that are on the inside, the Persian Gulf side, these are full tankers that are waiting to go to the rest of the world, and the rest of the world desperately wants that oil. Just millions and millions of gallons. On the other side, a lot of tankers that are empty that are, hey, this isn't doing us any good. We can't just sit here parked forever. We're not going to make any money like this. You got to let us through. So that seems to be the big holdup. Now, do we escalate things from here? Well, I think we're going to have an answer by Monday, depending on how these talks go. I'm still not so sure that we've killed enough down the ranks of the leadership to get to someone who's sane. It doesn't look like it so far. Also, it's really tough to have a real conversation on this because here's the frustrating part. And if you're hyper political on Team Red or Team Blue, you're not going to like this statement. But most of us with a little bit of gray area in our lives aren't looking forward to what's going to happen. Trump's going to have a deal at some point, whether it happens this weekend, whether it happens on Monday, at some point. Maybe it'll be a week, maybe it'll be a month. There's going to be a deal, and he's going to proclaim, it's the best deal ever. I know it, you know it, everybody knows it, believe me. Probably the best deal ever made in the history of deals. And the other side of the aisle, M. Snow and CNN and all of your networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, pretty much everybody but Fox News and 12 people on talk radio are going to say it's terrible. It's the worst deal ever. He's an idiot. No one's ever made a deal as bad as this. This guy has no idea what he's talking about. Mouth-breathing idiot. Wendell Licker probably should be kicked out of office. Impeach! That's what's going to be said. There's almost no room on the big platforms for a logical debate. You know who I have the best conversations with? when it comes to these situations. You know who I'm getting the best information from? You. People that just send me Facebook messages and we start like a little chat thread, and we don't become best buddies and, wake up and send each other I love you messages or whatever. But usually we have a conversation for a few hours. Maybe some of these end up being days because, you walk away for 8 hours. You come back, you're like, oh, yeah, the radio guy messaged me. That's who I'm having all the good conversations with. Standing next to somebody at a bar. Tonight I'm going to go to some symposium with David Hamilton. There's just talking to regular people who haven't lost their mind. That's the only place I'm getting it. Just as an example, here's John Kerry. When we were having the news cycle this week about he will wipe out an entire civilization. I mean, how do you have a rational dialogue with someone who's like, wow, this is the greatest war criminal of all time?
I was as shocked as I've been by anything that I've seen or read by this administration, in the first administration and now in the second. For a Christian, so-called, to step up on Easter Sunday and use language like that, which kids are going to hear and people all around the world will see as a reflection of our presidency, is just utterly stunning. And to be talking about, we're the city that hosts the Holocaust Museum. We're the place that, worked so hard to liberate Europe or free Europe from fascism. And so many other contributions we've made around the world. And you step up and not only use language like that, but say a whole civilization is going to die. That sounds to me like it's the prelude to becoming one of the greatest war criminals in history. When you kill a civilization, you are doing something precisely against all of the international norms, standards, values, and hopes and aspirations.
Yeah, greatest war criminal of all time. Yeah, worse than the Holocaust, worse than Stalin, worse than Mao, worse than Pol Pot, worse than Idi Amin. I got it. Worse. It's so ridiculous. Like, how do you even? You're not having a dialogue with someone like that, and you shouldn't worry too much about it. My calculation is on Team Blue. There's about 20%, maybe 1 out of 5 of them. They're not even worth talking to. Most people come into adulthood with a little bit more liberal than they are when as they go through, they get a little bit more conservative. They start a little bit on the left, if not all the way on the left, at least more left than they end up. And there's the gradual drift. Well, for the people who don't have that drift, for the people who don't change their policies, they're just locked. They are dried cement. You're not going to get through these people. You can bang them on the head. Hello, McFly. And you can tell it's the gray hairs. You're not going to get through to them. Bernie Sanders, never going to change his mind. Rosie O'Donnell, never going to change her mind. But you see, and we see on an almost daily basis, watching these people who are young liberals, watching them mature and evolve and eventually start to take a little bit of a step to the right and a little bit of a step to the right and a little bit of a step to the right. And that's what happened with Donald Trump. I have audio of him as recently as I think it was 2006, maybe 2008, saying I side with Democrats. I consider myself a Democrat more than a Republican. And where's he at now? Elon Musk used to be a Democrat. And you're starting to see like some people who are still Democrats, but not as bad as they were. Mark Zuckerberg, not as bad as he was. Jeff Bezos, not as bad as he was. Joe Rogan, still a Democrat, but not nearly as bad as he was. So I am enjoying watching so many people have that evolution, but John Kerry clearly did not. And I got one more clip. Let me squeeze this in here. I'm sorry, Garrett, for going a little long. This was from Newsmax. Dr. Sheila Nazarian. She's a doctor now, but when she was a child, her family had to escape Islam after the revolution.
I agree that we need more moderate Muslims that say maybe we don't need to take the Quran literally, but I've read the Quran. I know what it says to do to Jews in the Quran, and no one can deny it to me because I studied it. Yeah. So at least this person is being honest, but Sharia law is not compatible with the West and the freedoms that we enjoy here. Women are worth half as much. Women need their husband's permission to travel outside the country or go anywhere. Women can be stoned. This is why my family, thank God, got me out of Iran, because with my honesty and my mouth, I would not have done well.
I think we might be asking for the wrong things. Donald Trump's asking for no uranium enrichment, no nuclear bombs, no military capabilities. But shouldn't he really be asking for no Sharia law? I'll make the case for that next on the James Show. News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. I think we're negotiating for the wrong things. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Your home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. And they haven't put this out there. In fact, I haven't heard anyone else put this out there. But I think we are sitting J.D. Vance there to negotiate for things that are dealing with the symptoms, but not the disease itself. If you have a disease and you have a runny nose and you're like, well, I'll just take this antihistamine, and you have a fever, and so you're like, well, I'll just take this Tylenol or something. You're not actually dealing with the disease. You're just dealing with the symptoms. You're not going to get better unless you deal with the disease. Now, hopefully your white blood cells can do that, but for other things, like if you have cancer and it's like, oh, I have this lesion on my head that won't heal. Well, you can put a Band-Aid on it, but the bigger problem is you have cancer. And so you can paste over that lesion, but you're still going to end up killing the patient if you don't deal with the actual disease. And the problem we have isn't the fact that, these people have weapons. These people have a ballistic missile program. These people have a Navy. These people have uranium, and they're enriching it. No, it feels very much like the gun control argument. The problem isn't the inanimate object. The problem isn't the arms or the technology. The problem is the ideology and the worldview of the people in control of the weapons. We shouldn't be asking for them to not enrich uranium and to not have a ballistic missile program and to not have a viable Navy and an Army. We need to scrap all that. Here's the one demand that we should insist upon. No Sharia law. Right? If you have a westernized, enlightened, liberal democracy, and I mean that liberal democracy in the global statecraft, classical liberal definition, not like the American political definition. But if you have that, a westernized, liberal democracy, then what do we care if they have an army or a navy? They're not going to block the Straits of Hormuz to tick off the outside world. Right? What do we care if they have a nuclear weapon? What do we care if they're enriching uranium? What do we care if they actually have submarines and ships? Because if they turn into just another person on the other side of the planet that for the most part shares our ideology, and look, Germany, France, England, we all allow them to have all the weapons they want. I mean, we kind of stepped on Germany for a while there because the whole world wars. But we wouldn't have to worry about the Straits of Hormuz. We wouldn't have to worry about uranium. We wouldn't have to worry about domestic, their army. We wouldn't have to worry about ballistic missile programs if they were run by someone who wasn't an Islamist, who wasn't an oppressive socialist theocrat. Someone in pants. And I know this sounds awfully reductive, but I think that's the first thing we should all look for. And maybe you should put that in there. Here, I want whoever's going to run the country, they can't be a theocrat. You're going to have a new constitution that's specifically secular. No Sharia. The guy that's running the place, he's not going to be dressed like Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's not going to be dressed like Yoda. He's not going to be dressed like Ron Jeremy between sets. He's going to be a guy, he looks like he went to Old Navy. Or Zara. I really grown to like Zara in my older age. Yeah, I just want a guy that maybe, God forbid, wears a suit and tie. Wouldn't that make more sense? It just feels ugly because if we admit what our real problem is, our real problem with Iran, it's not the color of their skin. It's not even really their clothing. It's the content of the character of the people in charge. And until we change that, we're still going to have these future problems. The reason the Straits of Hormuz are blocked right now is because we haven't actually gotten the theocrats out of power. And so either we get a good agreement this weekend or we kill this guy. And it almost feels unsettling how frank and almost abrasive Donald Trump is in his True Social tweet about it this morning. But he's not wrong. If you're just joining us, he put on True Social today. The Iranians don't seem to realize they have no cards other than a short-term extortion of the world by using international waterways. The only reason they are alive today is to negotiate. But our other problems with Iran would be solved by my solution too. You can go there and do the bullet points that J.D. Vance and Donald Trump and Carolyn Levitt have been listing out for a month now. No uranium, no army, no navy, no ballistic missiles, stop supporting terrorism, yada, yada, yada. Even if you get all that, we're still going to come back, and Iran could still be a place that makes women wear headscarves, and you don't have free speech, and there's still Sharia law, and you don't have freedom of the press, and women still have all kinds of other rights that were trampled on, like you heard in the last segment. So I don't think that goes far enough. I think we need to be a little more bold, because we're going to be called terrible names. And our real problem here is that it's a theocracy. It's the Islam. And as long as an Islamist is in charge of Iran, I don't think we're really getting the disease cured. Is that too harsh? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Yeah. One and only one bullet point. Will there be Sharia law? I'll be looking for bikinis and American Eagle jeans soon coming from your leaders. I mean, we don't have to put the guys in a bikini, but, you have to legalize the bikini. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, local congressional candidate is exposing just how bad this new amnesty Trojan horse is. The Dignity Act. It'll be broke down next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, you want to hear the latest scaremongering about the Iran war? This is great. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Have you seen the headlines? You're probably not online as terminally as I am, but Time Magazine had posted it, or Time.com, whatever they are now, had posted it, and it was on the New York Post, it was on the New York Times, and the headline is, eligible males age 18 to 25 will automatically be registered for the U.S. draft. Oh my God, we're bringing the draft back. So the responses to that are exactly what you think they would be. Martina Navratilova, one of the great female tennis players of all time, said, "Good to know, right, MAGA voters? Happy now? You voted for this." Shut up, lady. Dude, we already had to register for the draft anyway. That's one of the things men have to do in order to get our right to vote. Women don't have to do that. No. Where's the equality there, number one? We had to do it anyway. It's just going to be automatic. We don't have to actually go fill out a physical piece of paper and turn it in to some bureaucrat who's going to type it into the computer. They're just going to have our identification records, social security number, all that stuff, tax records. It'll just be automatic. Has nothing to do with the Iran war. People just love scaring the crap out of themselves, and screw all of these news outlets they're doing that on purpose. Have you ever seen any other news story where they're like, hey, they changed the paperwork requirement for something that doesn't affect anybody and made it a headline? They know that's intentionally misleading. They know some low-thinking people are going to see it. Oh my God, is that because of the Iran war? Trump's going to start the draft. This is scary. Bill in Rowlett, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Bill in Rowlett, go.
Yeah. I don't think people realize that the Iranian people, the government is a death cult. They want to bring everything down. These people are absolutely just nutbags. They believe that the Mahdi is going to come up out of some well somewhere, and he and Jesus Christ are going to, tell people God will know their own, and these people are crazy.
Yeah, the 12th Imam thing. Look, can't you say that about most religions? They want to take over the whole world.
Oh yeah, Catholicism. They were the biggest for years, and then the Muslims came about in about 600 A.D. Wasn't that about correct?
Yes, in 600s.
And so they took over, and then we had the Crusades and all that stuff. But I think that this is a very dangerous time. I think nuclear weapons aren't too far away unless we really put the brakes on somehow.
Well, what do you think of my idea of the important thing isn't to make sure whether or not they have uranium now or Navy or ballistic missiles. Make sure they're not a theocracy. After all this bombing, whatever your government looks like after that, it needs to be secular. And then we don't care if they have nuclear weapons. We don't care if they have nuclear power. We don't care if they have a Navy.
Well, yeah, but I don't think you're going to get that from these people. They are just
then
so
keep bombing.
Intent.
Then just keep bombing until we do.
Well, I can't disagree with that in any way, matter, shape, or form. But these people, I'm just serious. These people are religious, crazy.
Well, when we say these people, I think it's maybe 20% of Iran's population.
I shouldn't have. I apologize. It's the people that run the country are the people that have this religious belief.
Yeah, okay. We figured you meant that. Just glad you cleared it up.
Yeah, I try to clear this stuff up, but it's the people. Oh God, I don't want to hurt the Iranian people. Do you have any idea? I don't want to hurt them, but it's over.
I hear you. All right, thank you very much. That's Bill in Rowlett. Let's go to Grand Prairie, talk to Reg. Hey, Reg, you're on WBAP.
Again, we've talked before, James, this is not an optional action that we've had to take here. You're dealing with a theocracy. They've got a suicidal bent to them. You've got to go in there, you got to kill these mullahs, and you're going to have to put troops on the ground. Now, people think I agree with Trump all the time, but that's not exactly true. I disagree with him on Iraq. We had to do Iraq as well. That guy had a bad credit history. Gassed his own people. Started a war with Iran. Invaded Kuwait. Lined up troops on the Saudi border. We helped build them, but sometimes you got to kill your own monster. And that's what we're having to do yet again. What you'll never have now is a nuclear exchange between Iran and Iraq because of and Iraq is coming along. You try to compare why not this, why not that. Pakistan is far more secular government to this one that we're dealing with right now. You should see what they teach the kids in school. You think Hamas is bad? You should look at the curriculum for Iran.
Okay, but on that note, if we had the curriculum for Iran that wasn't Islamist, if they returned to being a Western style enlightened liberal democracy, then would we care if they have uranium or a nuclear weapon?
They'd have a long time to prove it. It's kind of like Germany. I don't know what to tell you. And really, I thought we were never going to get out of Iraq. People say, when are we getting out of Iraq? I said, well, we're still in Germany. We're still in Japan. We tried to leave Germany, and they protest because they got whole towns built up around the bases.
Right.
I thought that's exactly what we were going to be doing in Iraq, and especially in Afghanistan, where we hadn't had a major skirmish in 9 years. And it only took 4,000 troops to keep the big city. The whole of Afghanistan, I thought, was to let that whole group of Taliban die off in the hills without women, because they were raised in those madrasas in Pakistan due to the Russian invasion. But instead, we left, and we didn't even disable the equipment, apparently. So I thought we were never leaving Afghanistan, to be honest with you. But now we've got this Iran thing to do, and it's not an optional thing. They've indicated many times over what they intend to do. They've got this suicidal bent about them in terms of this leadership. You've got to kill all those mullahs, and you're probably going to have to put troops on the ground to do it, because no country's ever been taken from the air alone.
We just took Venezuela from the air alone.
Well, but this is a different,
I hear you.
Somebody who's going to benefit from this is Ukraine. Ukraine, and the United States are going to work with these drones and things and neutralize a good bit of their tons of drones that they have flying out every 5 minutes. Thank God that they were selling to Russia, because Ukraine has experience dealing with these interceptor drones. So I think, but can you imagine if we actually pull this off, what that's going to do to the Middle East?
Yeah, no Hezbollah, no Hamas, no Houthi rebels. Yeah, a whole lot of other hotspots would kind of clear up. And so, look, here's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a dude in pants. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Well, the unfortunate thing is you're going to let Hillary Clinton possibly take power then.
Because of the pantsuit. Okay, I see what you did there. Get out of here, Reg. 800-288-9227. More on Iran and the data center. There's a proposed ban for data centers at the federal level, and some states are already doing it, and it's a big mistake. We'll talk about both of those coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM WBAP. Hey, this whole Iran war could be wrapped up by Monday, right? I don't know about that. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. You're home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Look, I'm going to maintain a small degree of optimism over the weekend because I guess some good things could happen thus far. But the big holdup we have today is the first litmus test most of us are looking at is the Straits of Hormuz. Last report there is 3,200 vessels that are piled up on either side of the Strait of Hormuz. Great. That is a terrible sign. The ceasefire is not going that good so far. Will it even make it the whole 2 weeks? I don't know. It's not looking like it. I think we're going to know a whole lot more on Monday. And look, if we don't have a decent answer by Monday, I mean, don't we just start dropping bombs again? If this isn't the right guy, because the other rumor that's going on right now is the air quotes Ayatollah is either dead or incapacitated. And look, if you're in Gen X, we really thought growing up that amnesia or being in a coma would be a more regular thing because it was on all of your TV shows. Every sitcom had an episode of amnesia. All the soap operas, people were in a coma for 3 months or 3 years and they'd snap out of it. But I think we actually have a situation where a fella is maybe alive but just out of it. Maybe in a coma. Maybe he's just in traction. Maybe he's in like a body cast. Maybe he has a big head wound and he's learning how to use the left side of his body again. I don't know. But the rumors there are getting so loud that you got to start thinking something must be wrong. Something must not be going good over there. Look, here's what I'm looking for. We don't need to worry about the uranium or the Straits of Hormuz or the Navy or the ballistic missiles if they're not an Islamic theocracy. And I'm not telling them that they have to change their religion or they die. I'm just telling them secular government because this whole theocracy thing isn't working out too well. And if you make sure that they're not going to be theocrats, that they're not going to be an Islamic government, then do you really have to worry about the rest of that stuff? Do you really have to worry about the nuclear weapons or the Straits of Hormuz or them having a Navy or ballistic missiles? Not really. And also, you would get another one of the wish lists, liberating all the women of Iran. You know, there's a lot of people in Iran who have a reason to hate us right now. And we would cease being the villains and be absolute heroes if we freed all the women of Iran from the oppressive theocracy that they've endured for the last 47 years. Steve in Weatherford, you're on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP.
Hey, James. The points you're making are exactly on track. Get rid of the theocracy and everything settles down for the next 50 years. I would love to see, I would recommend this for your viewing audience or listening audience, I should say. Look up, Google what an Ohio-class submarine is. And we have 4 of them that carry 200 Tomahawks. The other 14 carry 24 nuclear weapons. Scares the living dickens out of China, Russia, everybody. I would surface one of the Tomahawk versions in the Gulf of Oman. I would fire. It carries a couple that have a small 5 megaton nuclear warhead on a few of them. It's mostly a conventional Tomahawk submarine. I'd fire one of those 5 megaton neutron version Tomahawks at a great big old freighter 700 miles away in the Gulf of Oman and the Indian Ocean and detonate it and say to the Iranian theocracy, gentlemen, you've got just a few days to capitulate or we're going to do some really bad things to you theocracy people. We're not going to hurt the Iranian people. We want them free. We want Persians to prosper, build big hotels, build fast cars, chase girls. That theocracy is the whole problem right now, and they need to be hunted down and exterminated.
Agreed. Stephen Weatherford, I wish I knew as much about submarines as you did. That all sounds very cool. And for guys that grew up playing with Tonka trucks, and I don't know, there's just something about being a dude that we all love these big machines. It's amazing. You understand what's going on with the submarine. You understand the amount of pressure that these little tin cans are under when they go thousands of feet deep in the ocean. It's just the physics, the science, the mechanics, just amazing stuff. All right. Hey, data centers have been in the news quite a bit lately. And I think I can turn a corner here and convince a bunch of people who are against data centers to maybe I'm not going to change your mind today, but I think I'm going to thaw you up and sort of open your mind a little bit today, because it's something that you see on the news on a regular basis here. There's data centers. In fact, do you know how many data centers are already in North Texas, already in DFW? Dozens. Like there's one that's a few buildings down. You just don't know. No one told you to protest against it. No one warned you. Oh, it's the electricity usage, the water usage. It doesn't create that many jobs. It makes a lot of noise. We have these things already all over the place. But there's a new industry that's being unleashed. And the socialists, and I mean that as, in economics terms, the socialists, the statists, the powers that be are trying to scare the general public into giving control over this new power, this new industry, this new technology to government. Because when you hear people complain, well, we shouldn't trust the this new powerful the technology to evil corporations, but the alternative is trusting it to what? Evil governments? Are governments better? Is political self-interest somehow nobler than economic self-interest? You say that like it's a given. I don't think it is. But listen to me right here. Coming up next, you're going to hear from the two people who just proposed a moratorium on new data centers across the entire country. And these are not economic geniuses. It's Bernie Sanders and AOC. Oh my God, all you people who are against data centers, do you realize you're on the side of Bernie Sanders and AOC over me? That doesn't change your mind? That doesn't soften you up a little bit? All right, just stick around. Come hear this next. I'm going to play 3 clips from those geniuses, and you tell me if that doesn't change your mind. Also, the Black Crows are coming to town. They'll be at the Dos Equis Pavilion August 9th. Special guest, South Hall. Get tickets and information at livenation.com. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. Opposing data centers is now officially a socialist policy. I don't make the rules. I'm James Parker. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. And this has been a fight that I find really odd because some of the people I hear from, I see on TV, I get your emails, I get your Facebook messages. They're otherwise free market capitalist pigs like myself. They consider themselves on Team Red. They say they are limited government conservatives. But what do? They are trying to go and protest and use the power of government to shut down some business interests that they don't agree with. It's the very antithesis of free market capitalism. So it's been an uncomfortable dissonance to see this. You're a limited government conservative, but you want the government to control who can build a data center and when and where and how big it can be and what all the parameters are. You're basically you want to give control over to this new power, this entire industry, to government overlords. What kind of terrible idea is that? And so a lot of people who agree with me on many, maybe most topics that disagree with me here, I want you to listen. I don't know where you were taught to be scared of data centers. I don't know where you heard, oh, well, it's going to skyrocket electricity prices, or it's going to take up a bunch of water, or it's going to make a bunch of noise, or it's going to destroy the environment, or it's going to be bad. Where did you learn this? Because this is the same kind of scaremongering garbage that socialist and statist is really the better word, have used for the emergence of any new industry. This is what they said about the internet. Remember net neutrality? They just tried this 10 years ago with the internet. Well, it's too scary. We just can't leave the big power, this new powerful tool of social media and the internet to evil corporations acting all corporation-y. And so we had net neutrality proposed, never fully went into effect, got repealed. What were you told when net neutrality was being repealed? This is going to destroy the internet. You're going to be paying for Facebook in a few years. Did it destroy the internet? Or is your bandwidth 100 times faster than it was 10 years ago when that was repealed? Exactly. So the same people who are wrong about net neutrality, the same people who are wrong about Jussie Smollett, the same people who are wrong about inflation being transitory, the same people who are wrong about Biden being sharp as a tack are now telling you the same scaremongering garbage about data centers. These are the same people that told you the laptop was Russian disinformation. Hunter's laptop was Russian disinformation. And so now you have the two biggest socialists, Bernie Sanders and AOC, proposing a moratorium on new data centers. Does that make you rethink your position? Because if they've been wrong on everything, they're wrong on data centers too.
They understood what is at stake. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and I understand what is at stake. That is why today we are announcing legislation to impose a moratorium on the construction of new AI data centers until strong national safeguards are in place to ensure that AI is safe and effective. That means the government reviews and approves AI products before they are released.
What could possibly go wrong?
Further, that the economic gains of AI and robotics will benefit ordinary Americans and not just the billionaire owners of the industry. Further, that AI data centers do not increase electricity or utility prices, harm communities, or destroy the environment. Importantly, this legislation would also impose a ban on the export of AI chips to any country without such protections, including China.
Okay, now that makes it even worse. So now we're going to not only ban new data centers from being built here, we're going to ban selling chips that are manufactured here to data centers from other countries that we don't agree with. So what does that mean? Does that mean China's not going to buy chips and isn't going to advance their AI? Or does that mean they're going to buy their chips somewhere else? We're trying to get chip manufacturing here, and you're telling them, yeah, you can go make chips here. You won't be able to sell it to some of the biggest chip buyers in the world. Terrible. Both of those are terrible, terrible ideas. And he accidentally said at the beginning of this, one of the reasons why it's such a terrible idea. I mean, he doesn't see it, but at the very beginning of his speech, he was talking about this new tsunami of data centers.
This year alone, 4 major AI companies are expected to spend roughly $670 billion building data centers.
All right, stop it right there. $670 billion are going to be spent in building data centers. Do we want that economic activity here in America, or do we want that to go to foreigners? Do we want that to go to other countries? What the heck is going on? What do you think, they're not going to build them? If you put a moratorium here, then you are sending money out of the country. You are sending economic GDP out of the country. You are sending this new power, this new utility, this new infrastructure to other countries. And it's going to be built at the expense of us. These are big companies. They're all American companies, and they can either spend their money here or they can take money that they've made here and send it elsewhere. We are insane if we force $670 billion of new infrastructure to be built in other countries. Why? Because this is new and it's so scary. No, it's not. Get out of the way. Shut your mouth. You haven't been right about anything in economics. You're a socialist. They are the flat earthers of economics. You shouldn't listen to anything these guys say for a second other than to do the opposite. If Bernie Sanders says we need a moratorium on data centers, then we need to incentivize data centers. You understand that? We need to be cheering these things on. We need to be fast tracking their permits. This is some of the dumbest economics you've heard all year. Because once they build this new infrastructure out there, then every time you use something on your phone or you try and do an AI image to make some new social media ad campaign for your small business, that's going to have to cross international lines. People are going to be able to choke us off. If we go to war with them, you're going to have the technological Straits of Hormuz being blockaded if we don't build this here. This is just so dumb. And it's going to get dumber coming up next because I got two clips from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and she's going to continue more of the flat earth of economics and give her reasons for a data center ban. And remember, this is the same argument that is being had right here locally in Granbury, in Fort Worth, in Kaufman County, in Hood County. There's about 12 of these that are being proposed just in North Texas right now from different companies. And after I play you AOC, you already heard Bernie Sanders, I'm going to play you a local report here. And if you tell me if the news is really giving you news, telling you what's going on in the world around you, or if they are just relaying the political messaging from the elites. And it's worse than you think. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. We're talking about data centers again on the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. And the news is trying to tell you that data centers aren't a political thing, and they're not actively fighting against it. They're just hiding how political it is. Because propaganda is more effective when you don't know it's propaganda. Propaganda is more effective when you think it's coming from a neutral, nonpartisan source that's just telling you the facts. But I just played you Bernie Sanders. He a new proposal for a moratorium on data centers in the United States, building new data centers. The progressives want to halt progress, literally. So I just played you Bernie. Let's see what AOC says about the subject.
These data centers power thousands of high-intensity computer chips that are processing at all times and require massive amounts of energy to operate. Just one hyperscale data center consumes the same amount of energy in 1 second as 100,000 households. Because of the massive amounts of energy they use, power and water utility companies must build multi-billion-dollar infrastructure to keep up with the demand. And these companies are not paying for their own energy infrastructure. People's energy bills around the country are skyrocketing in order to pay for these AI data centers for them. And this results in people cutting corners whenever they can to keep the lights on, whether it's skipping meals or rationing their insulin.
Holy crap, that's exactly what they're saying here when they fight against data centers, the protesters and whatnot, but also the news. Another quick clip from AOC on her data center
And while
ban.
the American people are suffering, big tech continues to demand more. More data centers, more energy, more data collection, more American jobs replaced by AI, all on the feet of the American people to pay. And across the country, Democrats, Republicans, and independents are standing up. People are standing up to big tech and saying no to these data centers being built in their own communities.
Yes, that's what the American people want. All the American people are against this. Yes. They're worried about the increased energy use and the water use and their electricity bills. That's what AOC is saying. Now, that political propaganda, let's compare that to what they're saying on the news. And, you know, I'm picking the news from here, but this conversation is being had here and in Houston, out in Bogtussel, in Austin, and San Antonio, everywhere. This is the exact same. And if this is the news, if the news sounds exactly like the press conference from the top two socialists in Congress right now, is it news or is it political propaganda?
County. Several residents have filed a lawsuit over Granbury's handling of a data center proposal. It comes as Texas is leading the country in planned data centers. But as more projects pop up, so do questions about their impact. Residents in North Texas are worried about the long-term effects on health and the environment. State data shows that Texas gave data center developers more than $1 billion in tax breaks last year. Those concerns are now being raised in Austin, where lawmakers are taking a closer look at whether the Texas power grid can handle the rapid growth.
Does ERCOT have the tools to ensure that these large load users are not going to be taking power that our constituents and businesses need in the state of Texas?
Yes, it does. It provides for a mechanism when we get into an emergency to direct. ERCOT can direct the data centers to reduce their load.
And developers argue the centers bring jobs and economic growth, but for many Texans, the fight over what comes next is just getting started.
Look, they give like 4 seconds. Other people say they bring jobs and economic growth, but like that's the only positive thing they said about data centers in the whole thing. That was indistinguishable from the press conference from Bernie Sanders and AOC. That is not fair and unbalanced news. That is, and I'm not saying they're even doing this on purpose. This is just some guy, some producer got a press release. It sounded good to him. They copied and pasted most of it, changed some of the words so it sounds a little more conversational, and then just pass it along as news. If you're against data centers, you are doing the bidding of socialists who get everything wrong on economics, and they're wrong on this one. And if you're against data centers, you're wrong on this one too. Steve in Dallas, you're on News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey, Steve.
Hey, I've been working for data centers for almost 30 years right now. And
how are you still alive? They're so dangerous and awful and terrible, and you must be a terrible person, Steve.
Yeah, they are 1,000% wrong. Data centers in the old days did use a lot of cooling tower water but now they have all gone air-cooled chillers, so we do not use no water except for the initial fill-up.
Yeah, closed loop.
And yeah, closed loop system. And the power, they use power, but if you want your data on your phones and stuff, you're going to have to deal with one or the other.
Yeah, well, that's the frustrating part is they act like we're getting nothing out of this. We kind of need data centers. They will go cheer. I was playing yesterday. They were cheering about the millions of dollars being spent to renovate Fair Park. Like anybody cares about whether or not that fountain is on right now. You know, some goofy fountain that was built in 1961 by some guy you've never heard of. Yeah, we got to spend millions getting that fountain. No one gets anything out of that. Even if you did, you'd hear some trickle and see some water running. The data centers actually power our everyday lives. And thank you very much. Steve, hang on just a second, because you may be able to help me with this comment on Facebook. Because Dave wrote in, why don't they put them in cities? Have you done research on people that live near data centers? Keep them in the cities. Country people don't want them. We have enough data collecting. You sound like you're going Tucker Carlson. Well, look, it's been my observation that we have them in the cities, we have them in the suburbs, we have them in the exurbs, and we have them in rural areas. They're already everywhere.
Well, we're building a data center. I'm not going to say who I'm working for, but we're building another data center for another company, and it's in Buffalo. And they came down here to check our data center out, saying, "Oh, they make too much noise or too much RF signal, stuff like that." Well, I've measured the decibels around our chillers 600 feet away, like they were talking about, and you're only talking like 54 decibels. So they're not
That's
loud.
nothing.
No, it's nothing at all. But, you know, like I said, it's just your initial fill up on water. Then after that, you run glycol.
Well, all the excuses, they all fall short because we need these data centers, right? And if they say, well, they make a lot of noise, well, then we need to find out a way to noise proof them, not have a moratorium on them. They use a lot of water. All right, well, then we need to upgrade our infrastructure if it can't handle it, not forbid more data centers. Well, I don't know if the electricity load can, you know, the grid can handle it. Well, then we need to update the grid, not forbid the building of new data centers. You know, like none of these excuses are even legit, even if I believe the excuse. All right, coming up next, Dallas Fort Worth's greatest, most legendary radio segment, Garrett's World. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Brace yourselves so you don't bust the gut laughing at Garrett's World. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. Now, I'm your host, James Parker, and, you know, you don't agree with everything I say, but the guy on the other side of the glass, a lot less controversial. In fact, he's so not controversial. He's so good. He's so wholesome. It's suspicious. It's like if Fisher Price was a person. It's like, imagine if you had to work with the guy that was the boy in Paw Patrol. You know how it's like a bunch of dogs and there's like the mayor and like the mayor's hot assistant. But just that boy, I forgot his name. What's the boy's name? You're not like working with SpongeBob. You don't go, you make all those annoying noises. No, you're much better than that. So he tells stories in meetings, and it's just so bizarrely wholesome. We've made a segment out of it. It's called Garrett's World.
Ever get so angry you regret it instantly? I did. Freshman year of college, and it all started with a password. We've all had that one day where nothing goes right, and you just explode. I had mine, and it cost me big. Freshman year, first time on my own, full independence. And honestly, I wasn't handling it well. I was overwhelmed. Classes, work, everything piling up. I didn't even realize how much it was building until one day, it all hit at once. There was this one class where we had to set up student profiles, passwords, resets, typing everything over and over again. By the time I left, I had one pounding headache and zero patience. So I get back to my dorm, sit down at my laptop, and I can't log in. I try again, wrong password, and again, wrong password. And in that moment, everything stacked. The stress, the frustration, the exhaustion, and I completely lost it. I'm yelling, pacing, banging my fist on the sink, and then I did the worst thing I've ever done. I took off my shoe and started hitting my laptop with it over and over again. Eventually, I stopped. I took a breath, calmed down, and opened the laptop. And the screen didn't look right. That's when the sinking feeling hit. So I called my mom. She worked at TCU, and I told her something was wrong with my computer. I didn't tell her what happened. Not yet. She came by, took one look at it, and said the words I already knew were coming. "Oh, it's broken." And in that moment, I knew I had to tell the truth. So I did. She was not happy, to say the least. For about a week, I had no computer, which in college is a problem. And my parents had to stand in a long line at Best Buy to get me a new one. That's the laptop I still use today. I love it. But every time I think about it, I remember why I needed it in the first place. Because that moment was avoidable. I could have stepped away, taken a breath, tried again later. Instead, I let one moment of anger turn into something permanent. I've worked on that a lot since then. These days, I don't get angry like that anymore. Anger can strike in a split second, but the consequences can last a lifetime. Sometimes, stepping away and taking a breath is the hardest thing, but it saves a lot more than just your laptop. That's the worst thing I have ever done, and let's hope it stays that way.
You are so wholesome, it's scary. You're like serial killer level wholesome over there. That's the worst thing you've ever done? I can't even tell you what the worst thing I've ever done is because it's illegal. But look, I've told worse stories than that on the air. Didn't I tell you about the time I blackmailed my freshman English teacher? Remember, she was giving everybody a hard time, and I said I was going to tell about the time she tried to commit suicide on a band trip. Do you remember that story, Garrett? This is what I was doing when I was 14. When I was 3, I'd wrecked my mom's car because I thought it'd be funny to, put it in gear in the driveway, and it ran right into a telephone pole. That's me at 3. James at 3 was worse than you are at, what are you, 29? Oh, yeah, that's right. It is almost your birthday. Well, happy birthday to you on that one. I mean, I like working with you. It's just really suspicious. Like in college. This is what you were doing in college. Do you realize what scandalous stories you're supposed to have from college? Not I punched a laptop with my shoe. Look, my daughter, when she was 7, threw a Nintendo or a Wii remote at the TV and broke it. That's my daughter's already done it. Okay. Look, off the top of my head, hey, what's some dumb things you did in college? I don't know. Hooked up with the professor and then found out later she was married. You don't have any stories like that, Garrett? Garrett. Okay, but all right, Garrett, you have one segment every week to just wow us with the most amazing story ever. You're gonna have to stop telling Garrett stories because you don't have any good ones. Listen, bro, I bribed federales in Mexico because Bobby got caught with drugs in Cancun. You don't have anything like that. You don't have. I sank a sailboat in Lake Pontchartrain. You understand? You don't understand how stupid you have to be to sink a sailboat. Oh. For those of you who don't know, his luggage got lost when he went to Ireland. That's how controversial he is. All right, Garrett's World's over. Back to the phones. Don in Wiley, you're on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP.
Hey, thanks for taking me on. I'm largely in agreement with you. My only doubt is I don't know how.
Are we talking about Garrett's World or data centers?
Data centers.
Oh, okay. For new people, I was pointing out that AOC and Bernie Sanders have proposed a moratorium on new data centers. For all you people who argue against me when it comes to new data centers, you're taking the side of the socialists. Thank you very much. Anyway, go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah, and I was listening to you, the clip that you played, and I'm thinking, the best, most effective propaganda is full of lots of truthiness. They're using fear mongering to try to, pick at everybody's economic stress and use that as a justification for their platform. But the truth is, all the utility prices went up because the utilities saw an opportunity to get new rates approved. The 2020 freeze, the electric companies used that as an excuse to raise their rates so that they could build more infrastructure. The water companies, don't really have a reason except, every now and then they need a new pipeline for some future city. But my water bill went from $30 to $300 in Frisco. My electric bill went from $100 to $300 overnight just because of the rate change that they got approved.
Right.
I don't use any more water or electricity. My bills are just higher. And that's just greed. It's profit. It's not because of data centers. It's not because of,
well, it's not necessarily, it's not greed for profit if it's done through government. This is greed through political fiat.
Right. But but they're doing it to hide their pockets. They're not doing it to pay for infrastructure. They just had an
agreed with that.
To raise the rate.
All right. Thank you very much. That's Don in Wiley. I just got to take off for a second. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, former Brigadier General Blaine Holtz. He's an Air Force veteran, and now you see him on Newsmax quite a bit, co-founder of Restore Liberty. We'll get his veteran take on the situation in Iran. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP. Are we going to get peace in the Middle East? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You're home for Markley, Van Camp, and Robbins. Three good guys who were on before the James Show from 11 to 2 on WBAP. My guest returning again, been very helpful through all this. Brigadier General Blaine Holt. He's an Air Force veteran, now with Restore Liberty. You probably see him on Newsmax every once in a while. Welcome back, Blaine. How concerned are you that the Straits of Hormuz don't appear to be as open as promised? Well, here's what I hear from a lot of people, and I have the same question. How are they blocking the Straits of Hormuz? I thought we decimated their Navy. I thought they didn't have any capabilities left. At the end of this, I think we need to have a serious conversation about what the heck NATO's even for. Yep. Well, I kind of like the approach of why don't you open the damn strait yourself? Well, we're talking with Blaine Holt. He's a retired brigadier general from the U.S. Air Force. And Blaine, I think the list of demands that J.D. Vance just flew to Islamabad with, I mean, he's probably still in the air right now. I think that's all dealing with the symptoms of the much larger disease, and that is the fact that Iran is run by an Islamic theocracy. Because if they were run by a liberal Western-style democracy, you know, on the Enlightenment ideals and, you know, just a secular constitutional republic, we wouldn't really have to worry about if they were blocking the Straits of Hormuz or if they had uranium or if they had ballistic missiles. Right? I know this is an impossible question, but I love asking them. Do you think it's 50-50 chance, better or worse, that we get peace out of the talks this weekend? Okay. All right, Blaine. Brigadier General, is that the little symbol that looks like a broccoli? Is that what the Brigadier General looks like? What's the broccoli guy? Well, I think it was in Army because I remember seeing it in Beetle Bailey, and that's between that and Call of Duty. Yeah. What does that mean? All right. Well, thanks for getting a fart reference in there. Blaine Holtz, you can find his work, restore-liberty.org. Thank you very much, sir. I'm going to try and cram in a call right here. This is Turtle in Corinth. You're on News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP.
Howdy, sir. Thank you for taking my call. And I love the interview. The only problem is American iron is made in China. Does he know that? I wonder if he knows that.
Some of it, yeah.
That's a problem. But anyway, listen, I love the show. I love listening to you. I love your insight.
But,
you know, are you aware of the story out of New Jersey? Now, don't take my New York accent as a trick here. I am a transplant. I've been here for 8 years. I built at least 5 AR-15, so I'm officially a Texan.
Oh, no, your accent's gross, but we can work with it.
Thank you. And I happen to agree with you. There's a story out of New Jersey, somewhere near a data center, where they're talking about a loud, constant hum. Have you heard of anything like that?
I've heard of similar stories about that.
And what's your take on that? I mean, I don't know why these folks are making such a big deal about it. I mean,
look, there's a case to be made, even in my libertarian sensibilities. You can do whatever you want with your own property as long as you're not actively infringing on anyone else's property. So if you really can't hear, if you really are making some noise that ruins everyone else in a reasonable radius, then you probably have to put up more soundproofing or get different cooling towers or make some upgrades or, you know, because I had the guy that called in not too long ago, I guess 3 segments ago, and he said the decibels outside of that, you can measure it. It's pretty low. It's minimal. It's like your neighbor at the end of the street is mowing the lawn is what 54 decibels sounds like. So
folks are just being a little bit of a baby about the whole thing.
Well, look, this is always a tough spot because in East Texas we have the chicken plants out there, and if you have a chicken plant, it's going to stink, and it's going to stink for about a 2-mile radius, no matter what. And so wherever you build that, you're going to infringe on someone else's rights. And we've just decided that, you know, there's a certain level of, you know, stink that you can put into the air that just has to be tolerated for life to happen. We have pig farms, we have the pig feeders, we have all kinds of livestock operations, but that counts for so many factories. If you're doing plastics, if you're doing ethylene, crackers, outside of Lufkin when I was growing up, you could tell you were about to get into Lufkin because it smelled like a big egg fart. They had a paper mill north of town, and so we would be going down there to, you know, play a football game against the Panthers, and we knew we were almost there because everyone was blaming everyone else on you know, cutting the cheese. So there's no easy answers for that, but the answer certainly isn't you don't build a data center. The answer is how do we accommodate this problem? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. More on the data center discussion, and also, why did Melania apologize for the Epstein stuff? I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Why did Melania feel like she had to answer for the Epstein files? I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. You know, there's a lot of negatives that come with being terminally online, but usually I don't get caught off guard by things like this. If there's rumor mills that are big enough to require a public statement, the rare public statement from the First Lady, you think you would have heard about it. You think you would have been, it would have been a discussion. We haven't had one segment on Melania's involvement in the Epstein files. So this kind of caught me off guard. I'll be honest with you. I'm a smarty pants little know-it-all most of the time, but let's listen to a chunk of this. The First Lady of the country rarely goes out and makes a public statement. And if she does, it's usually coloring within the lines of some initiative within the First Lady's office. And this one, she's addressing some rumors that you hadn't heard about her and Epstein.
The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today. The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation. I never been friends with Epstein. Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach. To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell. My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence. My polite reply to her email doesn't amount to anything more than a trivial note.
Yeah, that all makes sense. That's kind of what we all assumed. You know, most of the people that this guy took pictures with, I think we all assume that they're not all pedophiles, right? Of all the thousands of people that this dude went around taking pictures with, I'm sure most of them. In fact, the general assumption isn't that, oh, you took a picture with Jeffrey Epstein, you must be a pedophile. Now, people who are deranged, people who already have TDS and in the third or fourth stage of it, oh, sure, they're foaming at the mouth for any terrible fan fiction they can get that's negative Trump. But I don't even know what the rumors were. Now, I saw this. I was looking on cspan.org. They're great for pulling audio if you ever have a talk radio show. And they actually had a preview for this. They were like, at 2 o'clock, Melania Trump's expected to give a statement on the Jeffrey Epstein files. I was like, what is this even about? And so I didn't watch it when it happened. I saw it come up on the TV. And, you know, a lot of times if there's happening things, Garrett and I will just stop down the show and we're like, let's throw it over to this live press conference that's happening right now. And I didn't. So I didn't really get to check it out until after the show yesterday. And I watched it and I'm still kind of confused. What the hell is this about? Now, I did get some feedback already from listeners before I even did it on the show. And one guy is Perma Bear. He's always griping about the show. And he's like, how come you MAGA don't make fun of her accent? She's been here for decades now, and she hadn't even learned the language. And I hear y'all saying about that about other people. Speak English. No, you've never heard me gripe about someone's accent after they've been here too long. It's kind of expected for me. I'm not a linguist, but I'm a bit of a polyglot. And when you look into this rabbit hole here, there's really is an interesting thing about the human cognitive development to where, like a great example of this is Miss Parker's grandparents. Her grandma is from Mexico, down in the Yucatan, and her grandfather was from British Honduras. It's Belize now. They moved here when they were 19 and 18, respectively. They didn't die until they were in their 90s. So they were here more than, 70 years? They still had an accent. They still had it. And the grandmother just passed away, I think, 2 years ago, 2024. She still had an accent. She had been here for 70 years. And being in this culture, 75 years, couldn't erase the original accent that she gathered just from her first 18 years growing up in Mexico. And in part of my fascination with that is, man, you're the wet cement in your brain just hardens at some point, never to be changed again. I don't know. I find that kind of fascinating because there's things that you remember from then that you could just never forget in a million years. But if I asked you what you had for lunch on Tuesday, it would take you a minute. So no, I'm not griping about her accent. No one's griping about her accent. She's a woman who didn't live here until what? She was 40. So of course she's going to have a ridiculous accent. And by the way, this is like her 5th language to learn too. And have you heard me gripe about that? I will tell people if you want to, move here, it would behoove you to learn the language. But I've spent enough time being the off language speaker and, like when I go visit or I'm in scenarios where I'm having to speak Spanish and my Spanish is terrible and people are laughing at me and making fun of me. I know what that feels like. That's all right. Don't get me confused with everybody else. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. Coming up next, some updates on this Mavs stadium site because it's all rolled into the farce that we need to demolish City Hall. And the CEO of the Mavericks spoke at the Chamber of Commerce of Dallas yesterday, and I'll play you some coverage and some sound bites from that next. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. So the City Hall scandal overlapping with the Mavericks gets an update. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. We were all kind of caught off guard when all of a sudden last fall, the city manager said, yeah, we need to tear down City Hall and turn it over to some developers for a new thing. I don't know what it could be. It could be anything. I don't know. Maybe a stadium or I don't know. I don't know what it'll be. We're like, where did that come from? The building's fine. Nope, building's terrible. No, we just did a study and we got the results back in 2020 that said we need $39 million in repairs. That didn't sound too bad. Oh, well, it'll probably be more like $300 million. In fact, we'll do a new study. New study comes back. Oh, it'll be $1 billion. Yep, we better tear it down. The hell are you talking about? Meanwhile, the Stars and the Mavericks, while their relations seem to be thawing, they both seem intent on bailing out of the American Airlines Center, which is where I'm at right now, as soon as the first lease is up in, 2031? So if you're going to move to a new stadium, you need to start building it now. Hence the rush here. So anybody who isn't listening to what they're saying but watching what they're doing is coming to the conclusion of there has been a cabal that has been put together with the intention of demolishing City Hall and building a new stadium with hopes of keeping the Mavericks. I don't think the Mavericks pushed for this, or they're in on it, or they were part of the cabal. I think it might be the developers. Not quite sure, but we got a little more insight. The CEO of the Mavericks, his name's Welts. He was at the Chamber of Commerce yesterday. Here is a nice little rundown from WFAA. In fact, I'm going to play you all 2 minutes of this report because I give news stations a hard time for being biased. This is an almost ideal report. There's no bias. It gives both sides. And it doesn't give you any emotion or flowing or there was pushback or controversial. They just give you the news.
This meeting of the North Dallas Chamber of Commerce has been held 72 years in a row. This year, however, a big business decision is just months away. The guest of honor is Dallas Mavericks CEO Rick Welts, the NBA Hall of Fame inductee who guided the Golden State Warriors in the development of their state-of-the-art Chase Center in San Francisco. So question number one, where will the future Mavs call home?
We want to be the team that actually wears Dallas on the jersey and is in Dallas somewhere, right?
Welts confirmed again that the site at the former Valley View Mall that the Adelson Dumont families already own is a possibility for a new 50-acre stadium and entertainment complex. So is the site of Dallas City Hall, the downtown site he prefers to call it.
We love the idea of a downtown site. We are on the clock, and whether or not that's going to come to fruition is really going to be where we can get with the city between now and July and trying to figure out if there's a path forward.
July, because Mavs ownership needs 5 years to have their new stadium built by 2031. They want the Mavs to play in a sports complex the company owns. By the way, the Sands Corporation sponsored today's event.
So, I'm an optimist. We're on that path, and we'll see where we can get in the next few months.
But while the Mavs CEO did not tip his hand what site the Mavs prefer, Welts did praise the Dallas city manager for pursuing all options. The only real commitment today was this one.
I'm so excited about building a new championship team around this generational player named Cooper Flagg.
The question to be answered by July is what site that championship team will call home. In Dallas, I'm Kevin Reese.
All right, Kevin Reese. Great report, sir. This is a story I've been following very closely, so I'm going to have strong opinions about it. But it really hinges on this one little soundbite from Welts, again, the CEO from the Mavericks. This part.
We love the idea of a downtown site. We are on the clock, and whether or not that's going to come to fruition is really going to be where we can get with the city between now and July and trying to figure out if there's a path forward.
All right, so July seems to be the cutoff for when the decision has to be made. And you can tell they're all back timing the end of the lease on the American Airlines Center, which means they've got 5 years starting right now to get that thing approved, planned, built. That's a pretty tall order right there. This whole City Hall thing stinks to high heaven. There's some moneyed interests that either they want to build the stadium or they want the City Hall tenants to be in their buildings, so the city will have to rent for them, so they'll make all kinds of money that way. Maybe it's a cabal of both. Maybe there's some people who own the property that's around there that think it would be worth more if the stadium was there, and they're probably right. But it's not the smart thing to do. It's not the good stewardship of taxpayer dollars. It's totally unnecessary. We can't afford it. So I'll keep an eye on that one. Oh, another big story of the day. We have an update on the Pooh Shiesty situation. WFAA, another great report.
Well, rapper Gucci Mane appears to be breaking his silence on claims that fellow rapper Pooh Shiesty and 8 others kidnapped and robbed him, but not directly.
Tell the truth, you went out like a real crash dummy. And after all that, boy, you still signed to me? I thought it was a business meeting, but it was a setup.
Gucci Mane just released that song. It's called Crash Dummy, that appears to reference this incident. Investigators say Pooh Shiesty, whose real name is Lontrell Williams Jr., and 8 other suspects planned the robbery, which happened back in January. All 9 suspects are facing charges. Williams Jr. remains in jail.
Dude, that's so cool in rap when they have beefs and they write songs about each other, making fun of each other. I wish they did that in other genres. Wouldn't that be cool if they did that in rock? Would that be great? Or if they did that in country music? What if Morgan Wallen made a diss track about Luke Bryan? Right? He's like, you don't even drink whiskey. You don't even really go fishing. You just got a fake truck that doesn't even have any mud on it. All your boots are new. Wouldn't that be great if they wrote trash talk songs about each other? So Gucci Mane just released this yesterday, and I was listening to more of it. I mean, I can share some of it with you, but I have to silence out the cuss words because you're not going to believe this. This guy cusses a lot, but he's talking about the stupid robbery.
School up.
And I mean, how stupid is this robbery?
Well, down. Nigga, I hate to see you up.
All right, we're going to dump that. I missed one. Dump. Thank you. Yeah, I missed a cuss word. That's on me. All right, good. We got to take a break anyway. Coming up next, Name That Artist. It's the game show on the James Show where I'm going to play you a montage of 10 songs. You have to tell me the artist, not the name of the song. Now, the interesting part of this one is you guys made the montage for Power Plant Day on Tuesday. We were coming up with different songs that could be carols for the new holiday in Iran called Power Plant Day. So it's Power Plant Day themed. The tickets you could win, Alice Cooper is coming to the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory on April 15th. So that's just next week. You want to get Alice Cooper tickets? Call in right now. 800-288-9227. You don't have to know all the artists. You just have to know more than the next guy. So Alice Cooper tickets for Name That Artist. Call in right now. 800-288-9227. Name That Artist is next on the James Show. News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Hey there, you're just in time for Name That Artist on the James Show, News Talk 820 93.3 FM, WBAP. I am your host, James Parker. Now, Name That Artist is going to be awesome this week because the prize is so good. 2 tickets to see Alice Cooper. All right. You know him from Wayne's World, probably, if you're my kids. But yeah, this is the James Show game show where I'm going to play you a montage of 10 songs. You people on hold that are playing, go ahead and get out a piece of paper and a pen or maybe a notepad file on your phone and type in the artist to these 10 songs. Now, don't hang up if you don't know all of them. You don't have to know all of them. You just have to know more than the person before you. So as many of these songs as you can recognize, write them down. Today's category was decided on Tuesday's James Show because we had Power Plant Day is the new holiday sweeping Iran. And so we have a bunch of Power Plant Day themed songs. So some of these are about electricity or power or maybe bombing. But here's the montage for today's Name That Artist. Ready? Go.
Turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end.
And the Wichita lineman is still on the line. Good God, we're gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher. Oh, we're gonna rock down to Electric Avenue. Don't you know you're gonna shock the market? Shock the market. If I get a rip by sight, boom, boom, what is it? You dropped the bomb on me, baby. You dropped the bomb on me. Love Shack is a little place where we can get together. Love Shack, baby. Love Shack, baby. When the lights go down in the city and the sun.
All right, there's your montage for today's episode of Name That Artist Power Plant Day edition. All right, well, to the phones we go. Let's get started here with, what do you do, ladies first? Carol Lee in Flower Mound. You ready?
Kind of, yes.
Oh, that doesn't sound very strong. But don't worry. Look, we're very forgiving. Let's just see how many you know. Ready?
Okay.
All right, go.
Oh, I've got to read them off to you?
Yeah, read them.
Okay, well, here's the problem. I was driving, so you have to take me off. I'm a scatterbrain, but I'm so sorry.
Hang on, Carol. Do not hang up. I might have to go back to you. Is this Pina or Pina?
Pina.
Pina. Hey, Pina. Are you ready for Name That Artist?
Yes.
All right. Let me hear your list. Ready, go.
I got Ernest Tubb.
Who? No.
No.
It's all right. Keep going.
Underground. Oh, not doing too good. Kicks.
There you go.
Glenn Campbell.
Got that one, Pina?
I don't know Electric Avenue.
Okay.
Duran.
Nope.
And all the way down to B-52 and Journey.
All right, hang on a second. Let's go back to Carol. Don't hang up, Pina. You're in first place right now, okay? Carol, can you add to any of that?
You want no, because I'm driving. I'm terrible. I apologize.
That's all right. Well, then you just don't get Alice Cooper tickets. That's fine. Here. I'll give them to Pina. Pina, you're my big winner today. Told you didn't have to know them all. You just had to know more than the next guy. And so you beat Carol. They're all yours. Thank you very much.
Yes.
All right, good. Here's the deal. I'm going to put you on hold. One of the Garretts will get your information in there. Where's good Garrett? Is he not in there? It's just regular Garrett. Disappointing Garrett. Oh, that's right. So the tickets are for Alice Cooper. He's going to be in town next week, which is kind of soon here, y'all. He's going to be at the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory on April 15th. For the rest of us, we get tickets and information at livenation.com. Coming up next, you're going to get a quick update on everyone's favorite new string of abbreviations. Remember this lady?
Deal with the ongoing genocide of MMIW G2SLGBTQIA+. This is abhorrent.
Yeah, you'll get an update on that lady next. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. I got an update on our favorite new and acronym. It's the James Show, News Talk 820, 93.3 FM, WBAP. Yeah, we're going to end on a fun note here because this is just too good. So I played this yesterday, and you may have heard this. I hope you heard it from me for the first time. But I swear, after I walked out of this show, I had to go run an errand. And then when I came back and sort of recapped what had happened in the news since I had gotten off work, this was all over the place. If you're just joining us, this lady.
Deal with the ongoing genocide of MMIW G2S LGBTQIA+. This is abhorrent.
Right. So in that, this is a lady, I think she's an MP up in Canada. She's a Canadian socialist. So that's even worse than the Bernie Sanders and AOCs over here. If you want a little context, she's just griping because some program got cut for restoring whatever.
Shocked to find out that Prime Minister Carney is cutting $7 billion between Indigenous Services Canada and Crown Indigenous Relations. They provided $0 to deal with the ongoing genocide of MMIW G2S LGBTQIA+. This is abhorrent. This is callous. This is callous because the very liberal government...
Yeah. So, women... What is it? Indigenous women? Murdered and missing Indigenous women, two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, intersex, asexual, and then there's a plus, just in case those first 15 words don't cover your preferred sex. And they don't, so am I in the plus there? Am I even in this? Because if it's everybody, then it's nobody. But people have been having fun with this. The memes have already been coming out. There's a guy who dyed his hair pink, and he's wearing one of these questionable neckerchiefs, like a scarf, like he's in some sort of woke version of the Cub Scouts. He goes in and he adds a few more abbreviations that you need to know in the video here.
They provided $0 to deal with the ongoing genocide of MMIW G2S LGBTQIA+.
And for those of you fascists who don't know what that means, it's obviously missing and murdered Indigenous women, girls, and two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and questioning, intersex, and asexual. And we decided that the best way to honor these murdered and missing women was to lump them into the ever-growing category of gender identities and sexualities. We're also expanding that list to include the PWPPOTPs, or people who prefer pineapple on their pizza, as well as the WENTCWTPLs, or white empty nesters that clap in the plain lands. We will also be expanding out to the LXBM, TATT, MT3, SABR, 31, FAT, WOWO, ABAIC, which of course refers to the Latinx busty MILFs that ask to try more than 3 samples at Baskin-Robbins 31 flavors, then walk out without actually buying any ice cream. So we're going to have the full alphabet soon. So yeah, super sad about the murdered women, though, the Indigenous ones.
You know, the reason why that's so funny is because that was an angle that I didn't even take yesterday. Why are we lumping in missing and murdered women with all these other people who have some sort of sexual orientation deviancy? I don't mean that in a bad way. It deviates from the norm. Yeah, why are they even in that group to begin with? That's odd. The other funny meme that I saw is there was a spelling test with Fat JD Vance. Remember Train of Fat JD Vance, the meme? If you haven't seen it, it's a very popular meme where you take JD Vance and you blow him up and you give him a Jerry curl and you make his face really fat and you make his body really fat, and for some reason he's always wearing a blue suit. Anyway, he's real popular in the meme world. They had him at a spelling bee trying to spell this new word.
JD, if you spell this word correctly, you will be crowned this year's Scripps National Spelling Bee Champion. The word is Meathwig 2 Slug Buck-Q E+.
Can you give me the country of origin, please?
Yes, of course. The country of origin is none other than Canada.
Can you give me the definition, please?
A single word used to describe every minority group ever conceived, including several that are still pending approval.
Mish, Wig 2, Slug, Bupku, Ia, E+. Can you use it in a sentence?
You are not a member of the Wig 2 Slug Bupku Ia+ plus community, therefore we will not be hiring you for this position.
Can you use it in a sentence? You are not a member of the May Wig 2 Slug Buk Q Ia plus community, therefore we will not be hiring you for this position. Can you use it in a sentence? You are not a member of the May Wig 2 Slug Buk Q Ia plus community, therefore we will not be hiring you for this position. Me Wig 2 Slug Baku EA Plus. MMIWGTSLGBT plus.
That is correct. You are this year's National Spelling Bee champion. Congratulations.
All right. Jace Yarbrough. I hope you hear about this name in the future. He is running for Congress in Texas District 32, which is like a little skinny little strip from Collin County all the way out to the Louisiana line. He reviewed the new Dignity Act. Not a fan.
This week, a bipartisan group introduced a bill in Congress that they claim will reform our broken immigration system. In reality, it's mass amnesty for millions of illegal aliens and a replacement of Gen Z. This is a typical play from the left's playbook. They secure short-term gains for themselves by promising long-term gains that never materialize. Of course, the left has lost all credibility when it claims that conservative Republicans should trust their judges, their bureaucrats, or their future administrations to deal honestly and faithfully enforce the law. To add insult to injury, this bill's name isn't even in English. The Dignidad Act, written in a foreign tongue, prefers foreigners to Americans. That's not dignity. Dignity for our people and our culture would be deporting every last person who has broken our laws, taken advantage, and defrauded our public resources.
And the main takeaway from that is the Dignity Act is a hidden amnesty. One more before we get out of here. You continue with your weekend on Saturday Night Live. The great Norm Macdonald. This is a flashback to one of his better women jokes.
Who are safer drivers, men or women? Well, according to a new survey, 55% of adults feel that women are most responsible for minor fender benders, while 78% blame men for most fatal crashes. Please note that the percentages in these pie graphs do not add up to 100% because the math was done by a woman. For those of you hissing at that joke, it should be noted that that joke was written by a woman. So now you don't know what the hell to do, do you? No, I'm just kidding. We don't hire women.
Experience the season's biggest blockbusters the way they were meant to be seen. Look Dine-In Cinemas, now open in Bedford and Arlington. You can catch your favorite films while you're enjoying dinner, drinks, and a movie all in one place. And you have a chance to win a couple tickets from us. Just text the word movie to 800-288-9227. Text the word movie, M-O-V-I-E, to 800-288-9227. Maybe you can win a pair of tickets from the old James Show. Stick around. Mark Levin's coming up next. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 93.3 FM WBAP.